Hello, I'm Oral, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. We have a very interesting guest on the program. Been here many times before. Always, every year I'll have him on the program. But then he became president. We could see for a long time. Well, it's an honor to have him here on the program. President Mussington, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, great, Royal, great. I'm doing great. Thank God for life. It's good to be here. We haven't been on this. I haven't been on this show for a while, but I'm happy to be here. And like I was telling you before we got on air, thanks to you, I'm where I am today in the sense that you were with me right from the beginning. Many years ago, from Speaker days, I could call you and you say, okay, not this week, but come next week, I'll give you a little space. I could say, speak your truth, and I grew with that, understanding that in order to get involved in the political arena, you got to stay with the local news. I broadcast, and this is why, again, I stood next to you in the sense that every time you call me, I make sure I'm there because I know how deep and wide your program is, and I'm happy to be here today as president.
Well, it's good to have you here because you're president of the collectivity of St. Martin, and you mentioned Smeko go back a long time.
Just as old as your program, 30, 40 years ago, Smeko came into existence, yes.
Are you surprised? Because you've been in the struggle all those years, and then finally now you're president of St. Martin.
Well, listen, I just follow my dream, and I stick to my convictions. But of course, there was a lot of difficult moments, discouraging moments, when you wanted to give up. Your family would say, hey, we with you all the way, but we think it would be wise to step out because you don't have the support of the people. Maybe your ideas are not what they're looking at, so maybe you should just throw in the towel. But somewhere along the line, I kept thinking that, no, the people didn't understand, so it's my duty to remind them what I'm all about. And I got my inspiration from the great Nelson Mandela, who once said, talking to his key supporters and the members of his group, he said, if the people didn't understand us today, we shouldn't give up. Just go and explain them again tomorrow. Okay. So that'll trigger a bell. To say, okay, they didn't understand me this election, don't turn your back on them, go back next election and educate them all over again. And chances are they might understand the message. And in final instance, they didn't understand the message because we got a great support from people from all walks of life. Even people who never were on my side, they finally decided, Mussington, I think it's your turn now. I'm going to try you to see what you're all about. So that's what happened, and I had a strong team too, people who really believe in our idea together. And we work hard, we work the field, and we managed to convince a large majority of supporters that this was the right time to make the right changes in the country. And what I'm so proud about today is that those who came, those who were not in my camp before, especially within the metropolitan community, because they had this way of painting me black, black in the sense, well, I'm black and I'm proud to be black, but in a sense where I'm racist, I'm anti-European, I'm anti-this, and I'm anti-that. So supporting me would not be in the best interest of the country. But now that I'm in office and they realize that the man that they described is not the man that is in office today. This is an open-minded person. You can have a conversation with him. There's no taboo, no subject that is forbidden. You could share concerns and ideas with him, and he responds in a very positive and very kind and manner that shows that no, they lied to us about him. This is the kind of response I'm getting today. So I'm very pleased. And again, I have strong faith. I believe strongly that there's a creator, and that the spirit of the creator lives within you. So you walk with him. He walks with you. So those are my convictions.
When you started Smeko back in those days, was Eddie Fleming mayor at the time or Albert Fleming?
Well, at the time when Eddie Fleming was there, we were young boys.
I know. I interviewed him many times.
Exactly. We were not Smeko then. Smeko came a few years after we were a youth organization.
Okay.
But we did have something going on. And gradually it moved on. It started out with the youth organization. Then a few years after, became SMICO. And then after that, from SMICO, Suja and I got into the union,
yeah.
the labor union, to support the workers because they were going through some difficulties. And they came and looked for us to help them fight their battles against the, how shall I say, the hotel managers who were very discriminative against them because they were more in favor of the metropolitan employees instead of the local employees. So we were saying, no, as a union, we got to make a difference in trying to explain them that they cannot ignore the local job market, work with integrate the local people in the hotels. So, and we made some strides there in the sense that they began to realize that attends is a French word, like carefully, let's look at what they're telling us.
Yeah.
You know, we can't be, if we want to be part of the economy, then we got to integrate the people of the land as well. So you start seeing some differences there in terms of approach. So I knew that our policy, or at least what we was advocating, had some sense and started to resound in the business community. But up to today, still there's some efforts. And what is good is that I'm having the full support of the prefect, the state representative, and other state officials on the island who are saying, attention, be careful, you know. This economy could go only one way if you want to avoid social chaos, is to make sure that we integrate the local workforce as well into the economy. And that is happening gradually, but the pace is too slow, according to me. But gradually things would fall into place. But parallel to that, well, I must say that we have to play a role, and that didn't happen in the past, where we have to train our employees to make sure that those on the job market can get the training needed, and those already working could get the training as well, because upgrading the skills of the workers is the way forward, to make sure that they're competitive on the job market. As a matter of fact, we have a clear plan. Maybe I could touch on it right now. Why not? We have a plan to create an institute where we will be offering training programs, especially in the building sector, because there now we realize that we don't have any professionals in the building field. So most of the construction area, most of the employees coming from Guadeloupe or from metropolitan France. So we are completely eliminated from that market. But I wouldn't just blame the investors or the builders themselves. I would say too, we didn't do our homework there.
Yeah.
So we are making that an issue. We have some European funds, plus state funds and collectivity funds. Make one strong budget to rehabilitate the Swaliga Junior High School in Cul-de-sac. It was abandoned because of hurricane devastation. And we're going to take that building and turn it into a center where we will be training our young men and women to be more competitive on the job market. That's how we're fighting back in terms of preparing our youngsters to face the job opportunities out there.
I'm going to come back to you on that because I remember over the years, apparently
this has always been our cry.
I was touching that, but I want to go briefly because Macron called snap elections.
Yes.
And it's going to be, a day from now, basically.
A day from now, yes. Well, listen, what happened is the following. Every 5 years, you have European elections where every member of the European Union, the 27 members, have to send a certain amount of members, a member of parliaments to the European Parliament. France sends, every 5 years, 81 candidates, members of parliament. And what is most surprising for Macron is that his team has been severely defeated. The far-right team in France, Jean-Marie Le Pen, won 31 out of the 80 seats. So that's a crushing defeat for Macron team, because that's the score that he had 5 years back. So his decision was to cancel, or at least dissolve parliament, at least the National Assembly in France, because he didn't have a ruling outright majority there. So he had to do some compromising with either the center or the right, trying to avoid the extreme right or the far right. But it was not working accurately. So what he has done is that he dissolved the National Assembly and called snap elections. So we had 2 months, had then, because it's on Saturday the 29th that we are going to the polls to re-elect our member of parliament from St. Martin and St. Barts in a person of Franz Gums. So I am being very forceful on the campaign trail in the sense that Franz Gums is part of our team. He's a member of the Territorial Council as well, and he has been playing a very significant role because his post is in Paris, okay? And his office is in Paris, and when I'm in Paris, I make sure I have contact with him and the senator to St. Martin, and we form a trio, and this is a trio that do all the negotiations in Paris between the ministries, and of course he will make his intervention on the floor of Parliament. The idea is to push the Martin agenda forward. So this trio, in my view, for the last 2 years have been very helpful, very supportive in terms of defending the St. Martin cause. Because it's let me put it this way, since 2007, we are no longer part of Guadeloupe, but we still having issues in trying to convince the administration in Paris that we are no longer connected to Guadeloupe. We are now a separate entity governed by Article 74 of the French Constitution. So you have to take the time out to walk into the ministries and speak with much courage and determination about the priorities of St. Martin. And this is what we are laying emphasis on. So my role is to give him the full support so that the people will trust him and re-elect him for the next election.
All throughout Europe, far-right parties are gaining power.
Yes, that is an obvious reality today, and that's why Macron is so upset, because he's a strong believer in the unity of Europe, the whole philosophy of Europe remaining the entity that it is. Together we are stronger. He embraces very strongly that philosophy. So some of the leading deciders, like the German Prime Minister, and other Italian Prime Minister, even though she too is on the far right. But France has played a pivotal role right from the beginning, back in 1958, if I'm not mistaken, when they came into the idea to start out with 6 members, and then today 27. France was there from the beginning, so they consider, like I said, a pivotal member and one who has always made valuable contribution to the whole European organization. So France, they are very scared about the far right winning the elections in France Sunday evening, at least first round. But of course, it's the 6th of July, the second round. That's when you will know for sure. Because it could go as far as President Macron having to change the prime minister if the far right wins outright majority in the National Assembly in Paris. But what we are most focusing on is making sure that our candidate remains the member of parliament representing St. Martin and St. Barts, because that trio, both the senator himself and I as president, we travel however often to Paris. Well, they're there, but I will join them, and then we will go into the various ministries again to press on the importance of St. Martin dossiers, getting the kind of attention that we deserve, because like I said, before 2007, you have to go through a channel with somebody in Guadeloupe who will have to speak for you. But because of the changes that we have made, and I'm happy that I was very forceful in bringing about those political changes to the territory of St. Martin, where we can speak for ourselves right now. Okay. That is why it's so critical that the people make that choice and we re-elect Franz Gums to the Parliament in France, so that that trio remains as strong as committed and as dedicated to defending the St. Martin cause. So
you feel that Article 74 was...
Oh yes, I'm very much pleased with what we have done for the last, 2007 to 2024, 15, 16, 17 years, that we are now into Article 74. Listen, the level of political responsibility has increased significantly, so it gives us the means to at least echo our concerns without having to refer to someone in Guadeloupe to speak on our behalf. And that, to me, is a major step. And we have certain rules, well, at least certain level of responsibility, that where decisions can be made on St. Martin, again, without having to refer to the politicians in Bastille, Guadeloupe. And that, to me, again, highlights the fact that we are now more, how should I say, we have more level of responsibility, and that says a lot to me.
Yeah, more autonomy.
More political autonomy, and that's the significant difference as opposed to when we are connected directly to Guadeloupe. You just go be a sitting assembly of 42 members in one chamber, 32 members in another chamber, but you're only one.
Yeah.
So you're voiceless. You're voiceless, and they would take time to listen to you when they don't serve themselves. You know, already France would send so little in terms of a budget to Guadeloupe, and then Guadeloupe have to take care of itself, their concerns, and then now they're still nothing over there. But right now we have direct contact, and I have, since I'm there, I have encouraged, or at least entertained direct relationship with the ministers in France, and also what in terms of subsidies and support, financial support, we discussed that directly with the government of France, and that is a significant improvement. In addition to that, the fiscal policies, we decide on our own fiscal policies, and from 2007 to now, when you look at the how should I say, the increase in terms of fiscal revenues is significant. I mean, we made a difference, and I'm pleased with the.
But you still have a budget deficit, right? You still have a budget deficit.
No, we do not have a budget. Well, the opposition claiming that, but they cannot demonstrate that. Really, we are very much in tune with what is happening in our in the collectivity in terms of our financial situation. Our financial house is in order, because when they want to talk about what must be made clear is that we are investing massively, because that's what you're elected to do. The country has been devastated in 2017.
Right.
You have certain subsidies from state, from the European Union. You have to make use of those funds that are allocated to you, and you got
is that time frame to use it? Right. Yeah.
If you don't spend those funds within that time span,
you lose
chances are you lose. And we are not. I'm not going to sit here idling and allow that to happen to us. To me, you have failed in your program and your plan of action. You're not ready for the challenge. So what we did is we increased the technical staff. We hire more professionals, and most of them are St. Martiners who are in France.
Oh, they came back home?
We bring them back home. That's my policy. We bring them back home so they could contribute, to the whole development process of the country. And that, of course, has played a lot on the budget, because to bring home a professional is going to be very costly, because we don't want to bring them home and treat them as second-class professionals. If a top professional in France was making, let's say, 8,000 euros, you bring home your own, then you have to give them the same 8,000 euros. You'll be discriminating against them, because they have been to the same university as the person
guy.
from the other. There you have to use the other guy.
Yeah.
So that's a policy that I have implemented since I'm there. And of course, like I said, they have repercussions on the budget. But I can understand that. But it's a price you got to pay to advance in your strategies and your program. So I'm pleased with what is happening in our collectivity today.
Let me just, my audience, in case you just joined us, this Oral Gibbs Live, I guess, the president of the collectivity of French St. Martin, President Mussington. He's my guest here on the program, and we're here speaking with him. President Mussington, when you look at St. Martin, we're one island, and still we're two islands.
And you keep repeating that over the years, because you haven't seen anything meaningful happening between both islands.
Well, what I'm leading up to is that we also had a new prime minister on this side, that side, and he always made reference to you before he got elected.
Okay.
That they were going to do the same thing on the Dutch side as what happened on the French side when you became president, in terms of winning the election. But it was a four-party coalition that we have.
Yeah, we call it the 2x4.
Right, and it fell apart in 17 days. But I had him here since he became prime minister. He's still passionate about what he wants to accomplish. We're going to have parliamentary elections on the 19th of August. Have he given you a call?
No. Let me say this. I must be honest with you on this one. There were two requests made for dinner. no, one for dinner and another one to meet at the prefecture. But unfortunately, I had to decline both. One, I had to travel, and the second one to meet with the prefecture, I was in budgetary preparation because we right now we're busy on the budget. So I promised that I would do the invitation the next time around, which could be any time after the 7th of July, because you're so taken up with these snap elections that I'm very, very busy right now. But as soon as that is over, I'll be looking forward to meeting with him and to exchange certain concerns. What I can say though is I hope we get all that hurdle as quick as possible. The reason why I'm emphasizing on this point is that we have 4.5 million euros on the table, European funds, Interreg, which is a state European funds that are made available for cooperation, North-South cooperation. Right.
And then like the radar one.
Yes, has that been supported by that, by that means. So there's 4 point. There used to be more, but because there was no efficiency in terms of using these funds.
Hold on, Mr. President, in case people don't understand, when I mentioned the radar, we're speaking about the weather radar.
Sure, the material,
yes.
Yes, correct, I got you. And I know
I want that for my audience to understand, that was,
that radar has been financed by European funds, the Interreg European funds. And like I said, there's 4.5 billion right now on the table. So I want us to sit as quick as possible to decide what are the program that we are going to seek finance for, and that fits within the how should I say, the framework of cooperation between North and South.
Will that include the sewage treatment plant?
Well, we decide, but yes, the sewage plant could be part of it. As a matter of fact, there were some preliminary discussions along the sewage plant. There were some efforts made, and there was even an area located in Gebe for the sewage plant. So the lagoon issue came up as well. So there's some other issues on the table, but now that he's a new prime minister, he has to say what his agenda looks like and what will be the priorities. So that's why I'm looking forward to that meeting with him to know from a cultural, educational, and economic perspective what would be the points that we would champion together to again utilize in a very responsible manner those funds.
Well, he's caretaker government right now, but the thing is, I like the European system of weather forecast in terms of during hurricane, how it's done. It's different than how the Dutch side is done. And a lot of people feel that there should be some form of cooperation of bringing just one standard. And I think that the European standard makes a lot of sense when it comes to weather notices, etc. Have you thought about that?
No, not as yet, because like I said, all this came into effect during the previous mandate. I got into the final aspect of it.
Yeah.
When I came in, it was already decided as to what is going to happen. And unfortunately, we haven't organized the official ceremony on it. We haven't done that.
Wow.
Thus far, because both sides were busy at the time and dates were proposed, unfortunately canceled for whatever reason, whether they came from the northern side or the southern side. So we never get to coordinate a time when we would go and officially inaugurate that radar center. It is somewhere
St. Peter's Hill, right?
Yes.
A century hill.
But it's still not too late to have it done. But when it's operational, that's what matters most.
Yeah. It's operational. I think it makes a big improvement for this hurricane season for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But the thing is, because we're still one island,
No, like I said, I support the philosophy in terms of understanding that, and more should be done to coordinate efforts towards bringing that unity into reality, and that's what I said the last time we did the treaty, the Concordia Treaty celebration at the frontier in Bellevue. I said we got to go deeper, and if there's a prime minister on the southern side who's ready, able, and prepared to go deeper, then it would be a welcome position or situation as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I started off very very openly and in a very responsible manner in terms of synchronizing things with the former minister. But hey, people decide who should be the prime minister, so she's no longer there. But we were, I must be honest with you and say we were on the right track. We had some interesting discussions. We've been to Holland to sign the, what you call the Q4 accord together, where she, Sylvia Vera Jacobs, myself from the northern side, state representative from Paris, the Minister of Overseas Department, and I don't know which level of minister, but one of the ministers in France from Holland, and we did that in The Hague. We signed an agreement where we would now create or introduce or encourage strengthen closer ties and cooperation between both sides.
Having said that, I had a private conversation with someone that's very knowledgeable, connected to the Lagoon area in terms of security.
Okay.
And they claim that the Dutch side, St. Martin, have a lot of security on the Lagoon side, patrol and so forth with Coast Guard, while on the French side, there's nothing. And that's an issue for the island because mainly at night, there's nothing coming from the French side in terms of patrols and security. Have they brought that to your attention?
You know, strangely, you're hearing the reverse, the opposite to what you're displaying, or what you're bringing to light right now. But the thing I must be honest with you in saying this, it's a state competence. In other words, a state responsibility, not the local government that I represent. So I cannot say with certainty, or give much precision as to what this state service is in terms of security, what they're doing, patrolling the lagoon, or patrolling the coast around us. And like you said, it's at night that much of these illegal activities would take place. But when you would question the authorities on the northern side, the impression that one will get is that there's some slack behavior on the southern side. So that's what I'm saying. I
was surprised when I was told that.
No, I believe there should be some meetings to clarify matters. Because what matters to us is that the security measures are in place. And if they are not up to par, then they should be strengthened or reinforced. Because what matters is that our country have to be secured. Because I am troubled by the number of guns, but not only the number, is the type of weapons that are on display on the open market on St. Martin. That's what I'm troubled about because, some of them are more better armed. The private citizens are better armed, or gangsters better armed than the police officers themselves, or the gendarmes on the northern side themselves. So one has to question how these illegal weapons are entering on our shores and ends up in the hands of individuals who not necessarily have good intentions.
But
that's what is scary for this generation. And then so many murders taking place, whether it's on the northern or southern side, youngsters taking each other's life. All that are troubling situations that I'm trying to cope with and see how best to at least attack the problem from the source. When I say that, I'm referring to the fact that what type of programs, whether sport, cultural programs, because there's a trend where young people are easily drifting into our levels of delinquency. So how do we now shift the mindset towards more creative programs where they can be spending their energy or investing their energy in more constructive and positive programs that could lead to responsible early adulthood or manhood. That's what we are troubled about and trying to see how we could curtail the level of violence and delinquency on the island.
But I got to add, though, that when I travel to the northern side, the French side, I see more security on the road. The gendarmes are doing an excellent job, in my opinion.
Okay.
Definitely.
No, I wouldn't question that in a sense. Yes, they are involved. You sense their presence, and then our police officers are busy as well.
The municipal difference, right, between the gendarmes?
No, not municipal anymore because we no longer commune. Right. So the territorial local police force. They're under my responsibility.
But there's a different authority between them
sure,
and the gendarmes.
Sure. Fundamentally, there's a fundamental difference in terms of level of responsibility. Who intervenes at what level?
Right.
That's yes. So the gendarmes are on a much larger capacity where they can react to situations.
I didn't say that to diminish the local police force, but what we see on the highway when we travel north and south, you see gendarmes are there. They're heavily armed. They're well organized.
You see, I'm hearing you and I agree with you, but the fact that they're so well armed has to do with the fact that they have that clear understanding as to the level of weapons that are on display in the country. So, and their most natural reaction is to try to match them, to be as heavily armed as well.
Because I also hear people bad mouthing them. The other day I was driving Marigo and I forgot to put on my seatbelt, and there was a control coming right there at the roundabout as you get into Marigo.
Okay.
And Shannon said, so put on your seatbelt. I said, oh, sorry. He didn't stop me, give me a ticket. Very polite. Said,
okay. Well, here's the thing.
I was surprised.
There are good police officers in the South, and there's some bad police officers. There are some good gendarmes, and some more civil, more human in terms of their approach towards you. But there are those with some... those were not brought up. Those were drugged up. That's how we would say commonly. In the sense that they didn't get that training, they didn't just come from a background where they would know how to respect people. They're just an officer, and then they tell themselves that they have all rights to treat people the way they should. And whereas in truth and in fact, you are a police officer or you are a gendarme, but you owe that citizen respect.
Yeah. Because there's tension on...
Because he's paid, your salary comes out of his taxes that he's paying. So you owe him that respect. If you violate the law, then you'll find a way to let him know that the law says this or the law says that. Like in your case, with your event, he was very respectful towards you, yet he remind you that you're supposed to be wearing your seat belt. He has to... There's ways of carrying out your mission as a police officer or as a gendarme. And I think being respectful towards the human being with whom you come into contact is the way to go about things.
Because there's a lot of tension.
Yes, but a lot of the tension. Okay, some young men in our society have this feeling that they are the law. They can take matters into their own hands and do as they please. But it is the gendarmes or the police duty and responsibility to remind that youngster or those youngsters that we are not in a lawless country. We are not in a jungle where it's the fittest of the fittest that will survive. But there are rules and regulations, and no one is above the law. Everyone have that obligation to respect and abide by the rules and regulations. So, and if you don't abide, then you face the consequences of not abiding by the laws that are clearly established.
So the territorial police fall under your command?
Under my command, yes. And state police falls under, there's a commander, but the prefect is in charge. The prefect is in charge. So
just to briefly clarify for me, so if you have a territorial police officer, what did they do? Do traffic control too, or what?
They traffic control, yes. They could intervene in domestic issues, but to a certain level, they could, if you're not respecting the law on the road, they can give you a ticket, things of that nature. And then they provide security if need be. I need them to take me to an event, and whatever I can call on them. And they're involved in these issues, Okay. But like I said, if there's a murder, then of course they have to refer to the state gendarmes that are competent to come in and carry out investigation and call for reinforcement. And there was a higher level of professionals to do whatever we call that.
Investigation?
Well, to go deeper into the investigation, but there's a term for those who use, when they the medical at the same
forensic,
then they have a team there that you refer to. So the police officers are no longer at that level of responsibility. It's the gendarmes who will take over and manage the scene henceforth.
Okay, in case you just joined us, it's Oral Gibbs Law. My guest in the program is no stranger to us, always been here, first time since he's president of the collectivity of St. Martin. President Mussington is my guest here. When we come back, we'll continue speaking with President Mussington on the Oral Gibbs Live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. Right back.
We are vibrant, expressive, warm, and diverse. Together, we conquer, and now we expand into new horizons, giving you more of the best. Introducing our new Bankomatico Plus with wider acceptance, purchase protection, and enhanced security. Whether you're online, traveling, or in paradise, experience more with Windward Island Bank. Bankomatico Plus. More of the best.
My guest on Oral Gibbs Live is President Mussington, and we're here to speak with him. It's good to have him here in the program on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. You know, I mentioned in the beginning, you know, you start off as social activist. You're concerned for young people. You briefly mentioned it. There's a lot of issues on the French side, the northern side, right? So French side, so people understand the difference in terms of young people, unemployment. I remember doing an interview with you about 4 years ago, and you stressed that issue of young people, unemployment, etc. Now that you're president of the collectivity of St. Martin, and you're there, how you see this problem and how it can be solved?
Okay.
Interesting. Sorry.
Listen, what I said to you 4 years ago, I'm living that reality now, so I am more than ever committed. So I'm renewing my commitment to work towards that goal. In other words, reducing significantly the level of unemployment in our country. One of the things, I don't know if I mentioned it on the program earlier, what we are trying to do is to get our training center in place.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
We were hoping to get the Army involved with us. There's a branch of the Army called the RSMA, where they would train young people into various trades. But I said Bastille, not Bastille, somewhere in Print, in Guadeloupe.
Yeah.
Okay? So our hope was to do a partnership with them, and instead of our youngsters traveling to Guadeloupe for a year or more, that we would do that center on St. Martin, because the observation is that some of them would leave, but they wouldn't come back. Some of them would give up, and they would stay in Guadeloupe and do nothing meaningful with their time and with their life. So the strategy now is to, with the cooperation with the Army, is to have that training system up and available sometime next year. But we have to, like I said, rehabilitate the building. That is one aspect. The another aspect is that we are making funds available through a process called LADAM, a state intervention as well, that we are sending those who are making themselves available to training programs where they can directly, where their ticket is sponsored and their housing is also provided for over a period of time, so that they could get the training needed to come back and to make their contribution and to, integrate into the workforce on the country. What we are also doing for those in school studying is that we have increased the level of scholarship, the funds that we make available. We double the scholarship. In the beginning, they were getting 2,200 euros. Well, we doubled that amount to 4,400 euros. Those who are in the system for 2 or 3 years, we moved from 3,000 to 6,000 euros. And those who are in the doctorate degree program, we just give them a flat 10,000 euros annually. What you want to do is that you want to make sure that your bright minds are served properly, and that during their time of studies, they could go through that process with relative ease and comfort, because we know of certain situations. My case in Guadeloupe, a father sick most of the time, a mother wants smaller salary.
Yeah.
Money wasn't coming every day.
So you understand.
I understand. They apply their concerns. That's why, as I got there, and interestingly, there was significant amount of funds coming from Europe for that purpose. So, instead of doing like a farmer team, ignoring that, we say, hey, let's make full use of the European funds to support and encourage our youngsters studying, because the idea is to make them as comfortable as they can so they can get over with their studies and hurry up and come back home. And that's the policy. In the area of sports development, we are lapsing there too, because we are faced with some challenges. But the idea is to have the sport facilities up and ready. It is scheduled for next year's budget, where you will see a significant change in the sport ground and standing ground in Marigot and also in Finstrada. You want to get the boys playing ball, playing basketball, football as soon as possible. Again, channel their energy into more constructive actions. So through sport, we can make a significant difference in their life. And that's what we're looking at. And we are also talking to the business community to ask them please to be a partner with the collectivity in terms of making opportunities available for our young men and women. And at my level, because I'm so much moved by the reports or the cries of our single mothers coming to the office every day crying out for an opportunity, I have made an effort to hire 144 persons since I'm there. Of course, you will get a feedback from what we call the Chamber of Audit. That's telling you careful now with your budget.
Right.
Okay, so I'm paying close attention to that. But I made it clear right from the start. I told it to the state representative on St. Martin in terms of the prefect, but also to the Ministry of Overseas Department in Paris. And I went as far as the Élysée Palace to say, we have a social issue that no one is taking care of. So I'm going to use, at least, I'm going to bend the law a little bit in terms of making sure that I can do something to face the social crisis. So that's what I'm doing right now. I can't go any further because I've been it a little, but I got to be careful now, okay? Because the remarks or the observation were made in the report that was sent to me. But those 144 jobs that we have created were needed.
What about you had some protests recently at the Mairie?
Yes.
Surprise? Because a lot of people were surprised.
Yes, very much. I was very much surprised because they knew, the union representatives knew fully well my commitment. Because as a matter of fact, and I told them, I say, folks, I didn't wait on you to come knocking at my door to say how we're going to deal with certain issues. As I got there,
what was the main issue?
I didn't have a general manager. I went to France. I met a guy from the States, obviously, working with the state, and I said I would be interested in hiring you as my direct general manager, but on the condition that your first priority would be tackle the workers' issue in terms of making sure that whatever's owed to them, and to making sure whatever in terms of the career advancement, all adjustments have been have things clarified, clean up, so that they could be paid what is rightfully theirs. Because I'm not negotiating the law, I'm going to apply the law. So if they're entitled to 50 euros, give them their 50 euros. And we did just that. And we're now paying out workers from 1,000 euros up to 26,000 euros. Those are back pay owed to them from 2010. Okay, so we will look back at all their situation individually and make those adjustments, which cost us a significant amount of money in the budget. But I said, hey, if we're going to spend the money, we are not talking investment. Because we also investing in human resources, because our worker is comfortable, both from a psychological and a financial point of view. He will be more at ease in the workplace. So I have that understanding. So I said, let's make everyone feel comfortable. and make the adjustments necessary. Like I said, it comes with a cost, but I was hoping to now have a reaction where they would be more effective and efficient on the workplace. Some understand that and made adjustments or made, had a different attitude. But then you have the union representatives, because it got to, today, this whole strike is about what? A rapport de force. A rapport de force simply meaning they want to prove to me there's a union who's supposed to run things in the collectivity. And I'm saying, nah, folks, the people didn't elect the union. The workers choose, to have you as your representative, but on the overall, it's me, it's our team which has been elected by the people to represent them and defend their best interests. So that's where we are at that level right now.
I had your good friend, and he's a council member with you, and Councilman Jules Jarville.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And I see you.
Okay. Go ahead.
I see you. I like the way you whisper.
Go ahead. Bring it on the table. Bring it on.
I know we saw that program, but he made some very valid comments about U.S. president getting into the airline business with that issue with air activists. And what was the investment there? How many million euros?
Thank you. Now you are a professional. Okay? You didn't just use his accusation to come at me with it. You asked an appropriate question. How much have we invested? Well, let me be clear with you. Well, it's a bankrupt airline.
Right.
Okay? And we reacted swiftly because we saw it was an opportunity for us. Because the bankrupt airline means that they had to sell out everything. And Air Caraïbes, okay, would have full autonomy, not autonomy, but full monopoly. And as a matter of fact, it was demonstrated clearly. The price of the cost of a ticket, high sky, from 260 euros to 560 euros over a record period of time. So St. Martin's, on a regular basis, have to be traveling to Guadeloupe and Martinique for medical reasons, for family reasons, for administrative and economic reasons. Right. So we tell ourselves we have to help our people, to be able to continue to travel as often as they wish. So we got to help as much as we can. And so we put up 400,000 euros. That was the requirement based on law. So the day of the hearing, we sent a check of 400,000 euros. In addition to that, we created a company that cost us 1.2 million euros. Okay? Some weeks later down, we passed two deliberations in our territorial council approving a 6 million one way and another 6 million the other way to as bank loan. Well, now they couldn't go to a bank as loans. As majority shareholder, we provided two loans to be paid back according to law within the next 3 or 4 years. That's law. Because you cannot invest money into the company. You could make the loan, provide a loan for them that has to be reimbursed.
So that 2 times 6 million?
2 times it's 12 million. So total, but again, 400,000 is what we today we are the owners of four aircraft, 4 planes, 2 ATR 72 and 2 Twin Otters. Okay, that's what we picked. We bought for 400,000 euros. And
that's a steal.
Thank you. So when we look at it from a business perspective, perspective. Thank you. And when you hear some of my colleagues arguing, like, come on, you're supposed to be in the business world. You know that's a steal of a deal. They don't get everywhere. And
what were the shares? The majority of the shares for St. Martin? The majority of the shares are for St. Martin?
60% of the shares belong to the collectivity of St. Martin.
And 40 is...
40 for the company that has the managing contract at the airport in Grand Cars.
What about, I understand there's another percentage that can go to...
We can, yes, the percentage, we have 60. Okay, the law, the type of company that we have created it could come all the way down to 6 to 51.
Right.
Okay, so the 9% we can distribute that, which we will later on distribute to, even from the private sector, we got a 49%.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, that 49% for private entities. That too, we're going to go over that. But everything was done in a very speedy manner, because you had to meet deadlines.
Okay.
But the whole idea is to create a company and get it up and running. We just had the inaugural flight in St. Bart's the other day. By the 10th of July, we would have the inaugural flight over to Grand Cars, and then business as usual. And during that course of events, we would open up the capital, because there's some other collectivities that are interested. Martinique, for example, is interested. Some private entities will like, and 49% would like to come in. So we make those provisions for them to come in, okay? And we were also looking at possibilities of going to Haiti and Santo Domingo, because there's a large population and the delegates came to see us saying, we can guarantee you that if there's a flight, a daily or a regular flight to Port-au-Prince, we can guarantee you that plane will be full regularly.
So you're happy?
So we're going to explore that possibility of going into Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and going more south towards St. Lucia, Dominica, where there's a large community of St. Martin as well. So these are, again, perspectives that we're looking at with our technicians and our experts in the commercial field. So I would not sit here and use the same arguments that it's going to collapse very urgent, very rapidly. There's no future in the airline. And no, I don't share the view at all. And I think it's a bit naive on their behalf to put forward those arguments. You haven't looked at the business plan. If you had to read the business plan and come up with some critical analysis, I would say, okay, this makes sense what he's arguing, or others, because Daniel Gibbs is also arguing similar introducing similar arguments. So I said, guys, come on, let's be real here.
But I know when it comes to Daniel Gibbs, I could see he was your predecessor as president.
Well, yes.
And I know you weren't too happy when he mentioned on this program that he planted the seed, and then you all...
No, as far as the airline is concerned, no.
No, not the airline. We're talking about in general, right? That he planted the seed, and now you're benefiting with all the things that are developing on the front.
What he's arguing, and yesterday in the Territorial Council, he tried to give a recap of the monies that he left in the Treasury and the plan of action that he had on display. But I'm saying here, you had 5 years. You had 5 years, 2017 to 2022. But what was his fundamental mistake, Earl, is that he got caught up in a useless battle with the state representative over petty things, instead of being the bigger politician, the more experienced leader, to know that the partnership with state is more of an importance than the petty quarrel that you would entertain for over 2 years.
So it was not a good relationship, then you're saying there was...
Poor relationship between both of them. Well, I use the opposite strategy. In other words, I told the state representative, let's have open dialogue, because we need a state to get where we want to go in terms of reconstructing our territory, which has been, devastated by the Hurricane Irma. And I think it has played out well, because we have the college, the two junior high schools, which are going to be ready for the new school year in 2025. To me, that was more an intelligent way of dealing with a situation. What matters more, your petty quarrel, or making sure that your buildings are up and running, that you can house the children coming into the new high schools next year? That's the difference here. But also to show where it's useless what he's arguing is that the two high schools that we're making reference to, we had to go over both projects and make some fundamental changes because they were the planning. Okay, none of them wasn't from the teaching field, in my reasoning. So they have ignored certain aspects of a high school in terms of the requirements that are needed in a high school, a junior high school. So we had to add additional funds to make those adjustments. So I don't think he has the right today to argue that those are his projects, because we have been transformed, very profoundly. So it's like a new building in itself. So those are my projects today. I'm pleased to announce that, And the good thing is, like I said, that's what I'm pleased about, is that next year those children will be welcome into modern buildings, both French Quarter and Savannah.
So I want to jump back. So for Councilman Jules Jarville, how's the relationship? You all buddies for years.
Look. Yeah, but the thing is, I never get the impression, and I'm honestly speaking, that Jules Jarville has ever digested the fact that Louis Mussington has been elected democratically president of the collectivity of St. Martin. He was deep down, even though he would try to present a smiling face in front of me, but deep down, he has been troubled by the fact that he's not the president, because he was of the opinion that popular support was on his side and that people would elect him. But no, face the reality. It's something that you did or something that you didn't do to gain the confidence of the people. You can only win an election when the people choose to elect you or support you or work with you. But he never created an ambiance, an atmosphere conducive towards, leadership. So he have never come over as an inspiring leader who could motivate and again inspire people to support him. So that's the reality today. So what now? He would pretend that, we're buddies, but every time he gets an opportunity to go on radio, he's very critical. And again, emphasize that a term, very critical of the plan of action that we put in place. Okay? And as a matter of fact, we just purchased a piece of property from him in Standing Ground to construct the cultural center that has been devastated. The building that is there in Standing Ground is going to be demolished in the beginning, just once the classrooms are out. Next door is the two schools. Those schools are out on holidays, vacation. We're going to proceed to have that building knocked down. And a piece of property right at the back of the two schools is where we're going to construct a new modern cultural center. Okay? So, again, to show that we as government, because we could have turned down his proposal to sell us the land, but we said no, it's in the interest of the people of Standing Ground. That's what we look at, having this facility in place to accommodate the people of Standing Ground.
Mr. President, I know you got somewhere else to go, and
no, I'm here. I do have an other meeting scheduled, but like I said, okay. I haven't seen you in such a long time, so I'm pleased sitting here and discussing with you, so it's okay.
I appreciate that. When you mentioned that building is going to be torn down in Standing Ground, that building brings back a lot of memories to me, for sure.
You know where you're going. You know you're getting at. Yeah, because that's all we had back then, to house all type of events, and most of our public debates, conferences, and took place right in that Standing Ground Cultural Center. That's correct. Yeah, you got a good memory as to what happened back then. Yes, It's true. It's true.
I even have a picture of us standing there in that building as members of the community who received an award from SMECO.
Good.
That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. Very long time ago. Yeah. So it shows that. So that's what you want to do back, a modern building, so that we could have programs of such nature, but now it is now left to the younger generation to pick up the slack and to carry out events or to promote events of this nature, because my time for that long gone.
There's a lot of complaint by people about this whole thing of CAF and abuse by certain people. What's your opinion?
Well, let me be clear on this with you. The CAF is a state fund. It's not a collectivity who manages that. It's a state. And there's some abusive situations that we are hearing, but we can't say it with certainty or confirm it because it's not our responsibility. We are not dealing with it. But you're just hearing people would say that they have been ignored, their rights have been ignored, whereas they are seeing other persons who just come to the territory and within a relatively short period of time, they are collecting a huge sum of money from them. So you're wondering now if this isn't a sort of system where a frauding system, a fraudulent system where on the table you have to know the person who made that possible for you, you have to return something back to them. You know, we hear, again, hearsay, but we don't have anything in writing or we don't have pictures confirming what I'm saying here, but these are what were told to us, that there's a business, underground business, where some people are making huge profits out of this whole system. I did once draw the attention of the prefect on it, but it's up to them now because it's a state service, like I said. What the CAF in itself is what state funds, decision that came back, all the way back after the Second World War, where France have lost a big portion of its population in the Second World War. So the General de Gaulle come up with this policy as to, how should I say, give birth to a lot of French babies to repopulate the nation, the French nation. He came up with these ideas to create a system where mothers or couples then who would produce 1 or 2 children would get X amount of euros. Well, back then it was the French franc for what they had, for the effort in terms of making more babies. So this is a system today, in the modern time today. That system is still into effect, and single mothers or mothers generally profiting from that system. But like I said, there's some abusive measures taken that has to be corrected. But again, it's not at the level of the collectivity, it is at the level of the state.
Is there anything that you as president of the collectivity would like to have as a competence on your control and not the state?
Oh, interesting question. You know, I like the question in the sense that right now we are busy looking at modifications to the existing organic law so that we would have other areas of competence or other areas of responsibility that we would take on. Environment. The whole issue of environment is state responsibility, state competence. We want to take that back. All right, we never had it, but let's take it on now. Some are arguing, rightfully so, that we can do it. Others are saying, no, wait, it's best that the state because it has a cost to it. I'm of the opinion we got to take on that challenge. Make sure that all protection and preservation of our environment becomes a state with a collectivity's responsibility. Because it gives us an opportunity to train our young men and women to be more involved in environmental protection and managing the environment, treating the waste, projectically déchets, in a very responsible way to show that, hey, there's a certain level of consciousness and we want to protect our environment. So that, yes, I am very much in favor of that measure. Another area is sport facilities. Yes, today we are in charge of sport, but to a certain degree, because the state as an entity provide much subsidies in Guadeloupe. That's why there's so many professionals from Guadeloupe and athletes from Guadeloupe who you would see now in the next Olympics who are very much integrated in the France national team, because there's some state funds that are very much heavily distributed in Guadeloupe, but whereas nothing for St. Martin. So I wouldn't say take on the competence, but make sure that a state representative, sports, is on the island, supporting us too, because we would like one day to see our young St. Martin professional athletes part of France national team as well, whether it's in athletic performances or any sport, collective sport. That's our hope, that's our dream. And with this modification of our organic law, we are hoping very strongly to see that happen. Which is in a pipeline. We don't know what's going to be the outcome in terms of a new government in Paris. That we will learn that after July the 7th, round 2 of the parliamentary elections that is actually taking place. It is in the pipeline that the state services will be on the island in a very complete manner. In other words, budgetary-wise, in terms of level of decision-making, instead of Bastille making those decisions for us, state services and the prefect would be equipped in terms of level of competence and responsibilities to take decisions without having to refer to the prefect and Bastille. So these are some decisions that we have worked for and secured during the 2 years that I'm in office, which, again, the previous government, the previous president was so busy, caught up in a useless battle with Prefet that he ignored these points. But again, I make them priorities since I'm there. And let me say, in addition to that, what we have been doing so that you would know why it's so critical that I asked the people, the voters, to send back Franz Gums to be our deputy, because housing is a competence, a responsibility of the government of St. Martin since 2012, but nothing has been done in that area. So what we have done, given the urgency of the situation.
You have Semsamar.
Sorry?
You have Semsamar.
We have Semsamar, but Semsamar is limited in capital in terms of investment program, which, okay, they're making some efforts now to construct some additional apartments, because we're looking at 3,000 requests right now on the table.
On
families, yes, looking for.
That side is 6,000. Can you imagine that?
Oh, it's a disaster on both sides. So we talked to the government, and they have made available 2 agencies that were not allowed to work on St. Martin.
Oh, okay.
Right now, because of our intervention and our relationship that we have built with them, those agencies are now allowed to come and evaluate the situation on St. Martin. And
so this will be outside the scope of Semsamar, you're saying now?
Yes. But from a technical perspective, to see how they could be supportive of investment program to construct new houses on St. Martin that we could rent at an affordable cost to struggling families on the island of St. Martin. So we are very much, because we created a whole service to handle that dossier, again, something that's been neglected, even though it was so critical and so urgent for the island of St. Martin. And this is the difference that we are trying to make, because we identify the needs of our people, and they are numerous, So, again, situations have been ignored in the past, but I'm not passing up, because I know what it is when a struggling family don't have a rooftop, over their head. I know, because things were not always easy with our family. So it gives me the understanding, and it helps me in strengthen my concern, and more beyond the concern, the willingness, to go forward and try to get things happening in their best interest.
I had one of your vice president here, Dr. Petit, and when he mentioned the situation on the French side, and that the collectivity of St. Martin and the whole French Republic was at the bottom when it comes to poverty, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked. And I couldn't believe it.
That's why, again, I said, and I'm saying again, that useless battle, because of ego, power, who's in charge, who makes things here, was senseless, useless, and irresponsible. And that's why we are on a new path where we having dialogue, constructive dialogue with the government, because our priorities must carry the day in terms of making sure that we get the government to understand how critical it is to work with us to resolve some of the burning, urgent issues of the collective there, St. Martin.
I wonder if a lot of the poverty isn't imported, because you see a lot of people come from all over, and then...
Well, honestly speaking, a portion of it is imported. But we have families from the territory of St. Martin who are in serious situations.
Yeah, I understand. You know, Mr. President, water and electricity. Water, I understand, traditionally costs more on the French side than the Dutch side. And then people say, well, electricity is cheaper on the French side than the Dutch side. But there's some issues right now, too, on the French side. Is it similar to what we're experiencing here with the power outages every day, 2-3 times a day? How is it on French St. Martin?
Well, I regret, firstly, I will say that I truly regret what is happening on the southern side in terms of the outages that are very significant, and you don't know when it's going to stop.
Let's hope we finish this show before it goes off.
Okay. Oh my gosh. You know, I'm very much troubled by that as a partner on the northern side. And what's most sad is that we cannot come to your rescue. We cannot be of any support because our electrical plant in itself have its own difficulties, you know. And as a matter of fact, we are discussing with the state. We are discussing with the engineers from ADF, which is the electrical company in Guadeloupe, to set a new pattern in place where we would be more working towards renewable energy. So we are looking at companies who has programs working with renewable energies, and this is what Europe is promoting. Yeah. So if you want to enjoy some European support there, then that's the way to go. So we are going in that direction. They are aware, and this is what is important when it comes to planning. If you know that your infrastructure is going to improve, housing programs are going to improve, then you have to provide the energy to meet the demands.
But EDF is not state-owned.
State.
Shouldn't they have known that, seeing it's different?
No, they are, and I must say, because the the regional manager is in St. Martin, however often, and we discuss these issues. That's why I know that they're paying attention, because it's public service that they have to provide, okay? But of course, since we are now on this Article 74, energy is our responsibility. But so the partnership with them is a reality today. So they are encouraging us to make certain adjustments, but it's no longer their sole responsibility to provide. Yeah. We have to play a very defined and decisive role too in the whole decision-making process. But since they have to distribute electricity in all the homes, in all the areas, what they have done recently is they've installed some huge, giant generators to deal with the shortages or the outages coming from one generator that is very much outdated.
Sounds like oversight.
Yeah, but we don't have the number of outages like you said 2 or 3 times, and you have to make sure you finish this program early before you have to witness an outage. Now, as far as the water is concerned, and I don't know if you were aware that recently we signed an agreement, a memorandum of understanding with our counterparts in the South. Attlee was the minister in charge then. That you could provide water for us because our plant is low in terms of production. We are a few thousand cubic meters short of what is needed on a daily basis.
We have ample water, more than we need.
Yeah, that's exactly so. Yeah. That's why we signed a memorandum that whenever we're in difficulties, we can reach out to you on the southern side and say, hey, make the connection at the border and provide us the water.
But do you foresee in the near future an improvement in terms of the French side, water production and distribution?
Well, listen, when I said that it's important that you entertain constructive dialogue instead of confusion and a test of intelligence or a test of power to see who's the biggest and who's the baddest, we have constructive dialogue going on right now with state representatives to see how we could finance a new production plant.
Okay.
Because over the next 2 years, if that's not done, the production plant in Gallows Bay could eventually collapse. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that it wouldn't collapse under 2 years.
It's its lifespan then, basically.
Yes, because after 30 years,
right,
then you just need a new water production plant. So we are making headway there. We secure the property. We are discussing, like I said, with government and other entities in Paris, the banks, to see how they can help us secure 25 million euros to construct the new facility needed in Gallows Bay to produce the water needed to cover, the needs of the hotels, the citizens, and the business community on a whole.
The port now, what are the plans there? I heard a lot of things, but
yes.
I haven't seen much.
Yes, that's correct. I would meet with Alberic Ellis as often as I can to let him know that he has the full support of the collectivity in a new investment plan, which would be a joint partner, public and private funds. I also promised him that we will go to Brussels sometime in October to see what kind of European funds we can secure. The investment program that we're looking at falls within the bracket of 50 to 100 million euros. So that's a large sum of money that we have to secure.
Yeah.
So that's why it's taking so long, but because we have a whole phase of judging to do so that we could go deeper to accommodate larger ships at the port in Gallows Bay. And also the idea, parallel to that, is also to construct a facility to accommodate smaller size cruise ships into the port in Gallows Bay. Now, we still question whether it should be in the port of Gallows Bay or more on the Bay of Marigot. So these are some of the discussions that we are having, and yet there hasn't been a final decision on it yet, but it will come by now to the end of this year as to where we're going to construct that facility.
Mr. President, look, there's a lot of things I can ask you, but I know time is tight.
Okay, fine.
So I'm going to give you the last 2-3 minutes, all yours, because I know you got somewhere else to go, so hold up your schedule.
Well, firstly, all I want to say thank you so much for creating this opportunity for me to come and express my views and opinions in regards to how we are managing the affairs of our country, and also to express my sincere appreciation to all those who, whether it's on the northern or the southern side, who are saying to me, we are lifting you up in prayers. That is good. That goes directly to my heart. And I'm so grateful to all those wonderful persons for doing just that. Keep praying for me, keep calling on the great God of the universe to strengthen me, to encourage me, and to keep our team committed, and to continue to act as responsible. To our young people, I'm saying that we have your back, to use that common talk. We have your back in the sense that we are making strides, even though you're not feeling it as yet. Yeah. But I want you to know that you're not neglected. We know of your plight because I was a young man just like you. And so I understand how much you're hurting. Those in school, we want to encourage you to continue to study. We need your brain power that you're bringing back home. So we are looking forward to working with all of you in the future on the programs that you believe are important for the building of the nation, St. Martin. Thank you so much again, Roel, for having me. And anytime in the future, I'm all yours.
Okay, we'd love to have you back sometime soon, all right?
Thank you for having me.
As the president of Friends St. Martin, the collectivity of Friends St. Martin, President Louis Mussington, here on Oral Gibbs Live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Hot 99 FM radio. See you next time. Take care. Bye.